Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world.
When listeners like you contribute to the Unity FM network, you're making a positive difference in your life and the lives of other spiritual seekers. To contribute, visit www.unity.fm and make a one-time donation or sign up for monthly contributions. Thank you for your support.
Welcome to Design Your Life with Reverend Kevin Ross and friends. Join us for the next paradigm-shifting hour as we explore distinctions for becoming a person of purpose, power, passion, peace, and prosperity. Call in with your questions and comments for real-time coaching and conversation committed to inspiring and empowering you to design and live the life of your dreams. And now, it's your turn to start living the designer life with your host, the Reverend Kevin Kitrell Ross.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's another wonderful Wednesday. Welcome to Design Your Life. I am your host, the Reverend Kevin Ross. My friends call me Rev Kev, and so can you. I'm on a mission to awaken each person to live a life of purpose, passion, peace, and prosperity. And this is another opportunity for you to take a look at your purpose, take a look at how you are showing up in the world. This program really offers you distinctions and tools that you can use in your daily life to design and live the life triumphant. And that's what we're all about here each week on Design Your Life. So I want to thank you, my listeners from, we understand, from over 101 countries who participate with us weekly. We thank you from wherever you are joining us. Today's program is going to be an inspiration to you. We promise to offer you something of inspiration that will open your heart space. I want you to, in fact, right now, I'm just going to give a little clue away. Today, I want you to move from that intellectual spot that you tend to park in to open your heart space, because I want you to be very receptive for what we will be sharing today. Also want to say to you, once again, to my Facebook friends, check out my latest posting on Facebook. I posted just yesterday that I plan on going to, I said that I have a friend who's looking for property in Sacramento. And you guys figured it out. I was looking for property in Sacramento. So yes, it was me. So it looks like we're going to be going to Sacramento. I'm going to have an official word next week for you about what that means and what that opportunity will be. We will still continue with our program, Design Your Life. It's just going to be Design Your Life West Coast style. How about that? So keep your eyes and ears open for great places to live in Sacramento, and post me on Facebook about that. Also want to invite you to join us this evening for our Designer Life Mastermind simulcast every Wednesday. We continue our dialogue by diving a little bit deeper. You can join us on our simulcast. Here's the information: 712-775-7000, 712-775-7000, and you get a chance to sound off and participate in a powerful discussion. Always bring you more distinctions and outstanding guests, where you can get more distinctions for designing and living the life of your dreams. That is at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Just depends on where you are. But join us tonight. You can dial in. It's absolutely free. Or you can watch us and join us in the chat room, which is really cool. So you can see me, and I can somehow see you, your screen name in our chat room, by going to www.indigoplatforms.tv, www.indigoplatforms.tv, and participate with us this evening. It's going to be an amazing experience. 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us for a powerful simulcast experience. I'll be there hosting once again. We've entered into the season for nonviolence. We've entered into African American History Month, and just so much is going on. This is considered Love Month, and I like to wrap all of them up in love. And we thought that we would have an expert to join us, a guest who could talk about many things that pertain to nonviolence, compassion, giving and sharing. And when you think about those words, you think about a name synonymous with these. Often some of us would think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but there's another name that Dr. King was mentored by, at least was his spiritual mentor, and that was Mohandas Gandhi. And a few years ago, I had the privilege of meeting our guest today. And I've also met his sister, and I studied at Morehouse College, where my mentor, the Reverend Dr. Lawrence Edward Carter Sr., is a Gandhi scholar. So I have a lot of respect and appreciation for the ideas and philosophy of Mohandas Gandhi and the transformative work that he did. And so during this season of nonviolence, we celebrate his life and his legacy. And so we have with us on our program today his grandson. And I want to read just a little bit about our guest today. Born in 1934 in Durban, South Africa, Arun is the fifth grandson of India's legendary leader, Mohandas Gandhi. Growing up under the discriminatory apartheid laws of South Africa, he was beaten by white South Africans for being too black and black South Africans for being too white. So Arun sought eye for an eye justice. However, he learned from his parents and grandparents that justice does not mean revenge. It means transforming the opponent through love and suffering. Grandfather taught Arun to understand nonviolence through understanding violence. If we know how much passive violence we perpetrate against one another, we will understand why there's so much physical violence plaguing societies in the world, Gandhi said. Through daily lessons, Arun says he learned about violence and about anger. Arun shares these lessons all around the world. For the past 5 years, he has participated in the Renaissance Weekend deliberations with President Clinton and other well-respected Rhodes Scholars. This year, some of his engagements included speaking at the Chicago Children's Museum and the Women's Justice Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He also delivered talks at the Young Presidents Organization in Mexico, the trade union leaders, meetings in Milan, Italy, as well as the Peace and Justice Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Sometimes his journey takes him even further. Arun has spoken in Croatia, France, Ireland, Holland, Lithuania, Nicaragua, China, Scotland, and Japan. Also, he is a very popular speaker on college campuses. In the past year, he spoke at North Dakota State University, Concordia College, Baker University, Morehouse College, of course, Marquette University, and the University of San Diego. Arun is involved in social programs and writing as well. Shortly after Arun married his wife, Sananda, they informed the South African government. They were informed the South African government would not allow her to accompany him there. Sananda and Arun decided to live in India, and Arun worked for 30 years as a journalist for the Times of India. Together, Arun and Sananda started projects for the social and economic upliftment of the oppressed using constructive programs, the backbone of Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. The program changed the lives of more than 500,000 in over 300 villages, and they still continue to grow. Sananda died in February of 2007, and the family is working to establish a school in the poorest rural areas in India in her name. Arun is the author of several books. The first, A Patch of White, is about life in prejudiced South Africa. Then he wrote 2 books on poverty and politics in India, followed by a compilation of M. K. Gandhi's Wit and Wisdom. He also edited a book of essays on World Without Violence. Can Gandhi's Vision Become Reality? And more recently, Forgotten Woman, the untold story of Kastur, the wife of Mahatma Gandhi, jointly with his wife, Sananda. Let's welcome to our program, with great honor and great respect, Mr. Arun Gandhi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a wonderful introduction.
I thought it was important that we take the time to share all of that history and really establish in the minds of our contemporaries, exactly what your journey has been about. And
right.
And so I wanted to really give you your proper respect in sharing your entire bio there. I don't want to rush at all.
No, thank you very much. It was very nice, and it covers a lot of my life. And the thing that I would like to emphasize here is, generally people seem to believe that the philosophy of nonviolence is about resisting and seeking justice and, anti-war and that kind of thing. But it's as much about personal change as it is about societal change. It is about destroying the culture of violence that we have created around us and replacing that with a culture of nonviolence, which means that individually we are so controlled by negative thoughts and negative attitudes and beliefs, which spawn hate and prejudice and anger and frustration and all of these negative things, which ultimately lead to violence. So if we can replace that negativity with positive feelings like love, respect, understanding, acceptance, appreciation of each other, then we would create that culture of nonviolence that would ultimately help us in building peace around the world.
Well said. I really agree with you. When we first met, it was at Morehouse College, and it was during Science and Spirituality Week, and you were there to address us. And you really unzipped your heart and shared so much of yourself and some of the stories about you and grandfather. Before we get off of this broadcast, I certainly want to hear some of those. But you introduced a concept that I thought was powerful. I had just an aha moment. And I was a student, I believe I was a student at Morehouse at the time. You talked about passive violence. And it just opened my whole world up, because many people listening right now, do associate with your grandfather's tradition, this stand up for justice kind of thing, and this need to be nonviolent in the social struggle, protesting and that sort of thing. But you opened up something for us that I think needs to be understood on a very personal level. Talk to us about passive violence and how that has an effect on the culture in which we live today.
Yeah, we commit a lot of passive violence knowingly and unknowingly because, as I said, we have created this culture of violence around us, which spawns all kind of violence, not just physical violence, but also passive violence.
Talk to what is passive violence? So what for that lay person who's
passive violence is the kind of violence we use against one another where we don't use any physical force, but yet we hurt people by the way we talk to them, or by the way we discriminate against them, or the economic oppression that we commit, or religious oppression, or social oppression, or hundreds of things that we do consciously and unconsciously every day against one another. All that comes to amounts to passive violence.
So
anytime you hurt somebody, knowingly or unknowingly, then you're committing passive violence.
So, but I consider myself, and I'm speaking generally, I consider myself a nice guy. And I use sarcasm from time to time. Is being sarcastic a form of passive violence?
Yes, if that sarcasm leads to hurting somebody and creating some kind of conflict between them, then that is passive violence. Anything that hurts people, anything that differentiates between people, where we build a wall between us and them, or, for instance, even things like we enjoy a wonderful lifestyle here in the United States, but half of the world lives in abject poverty and destitution, and we don't care about it. And we say, well, that's not our business. Well, that is also passive violence, because we are all interconnected. The belief that we can secure ourselves here in our nation by creating a strong army and building all kinds of weapons of mass destruction, we can't secure our borders if the rest of the world is going down the tube. So we are going to go down, however powerful we may be, we are going to go down there. So the security of any nation depends on the security of the whole world. And it's only when we have that vision and when we are willing to work to create that kind of a world where everybody can live in peace and harmony and there wouldn't be any exploitation of any kind, then, we can create a world where peace may prevail.
And we want such a world. We need such a world. And it starts on the individual level. You have seen much in your years, and certainly in your youth you saw a lot. Share with us a heart-shaping experience. And we got about a minute before we go to break. But one of your experiences that led you down this path.
Well, I saw a lot of poverty in India when I was living there, and I thought it was as much my responsibility as it was the government's responsibility to do something about it, and that's why I created a Center for Social Unity, and with my wife and friends, we raised funds and we helped the poor people by creating self-help models where we rebuilt their self-respect and self-confidence and gave them the ability to stand on their own feet rather than give them doles and charity and make them more and more dependent on us and on society. So, giving in charity is also very important, that you give out of compassion and not out of pity. When we go out into the streets and we see a hungry person and we give that person $1 or $2, we are acting out of pity. What we are basically telling that person is, take this money and get out of my face, and I hope I never see you again.
Wow.
But if we were to act out of compassion, we would stop to find out, why is this person incapable of taking care of himself or herself? And what can we do to help that person realize their potential and their strength?
We're going to let that thought be the last one for this segment. We'll be back with more Arun Gandhi right after these messages. You're listening to Design Your Life with Kevin Ross. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world.
Unity is designating 2010 as the Year of the 12 Powers, and throughout the year we'll be providing you with a variety of free online resources to help you apply one new power each month. This month we are celebrating strength. We affirm, I have the strength to accomplish all that is mine to do. I have the strength to accomplish all that is mine to do. Join Unity on a year-long journey of spiritual discovery and transformation with the 12 Powers. For more information, go to www.unity.org and click on the link for the 12 Powers Resource Center.
Good parenting doesn't happen by default. It is intentional. It is a decision about who you will be and what you will do in your family life. Join your hosts, Reverend Jennifer and Ogun Holder, each week for Unity Family Matters. Experience the light side of parenting, realizing your divine identity while raising your children to know they are the light of God. Gain insights based on Unity principles, talk with today's prominent experts in spiritual parenting, and address your questions and comments from spiritual perspectives. Unity Family Matters, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world.
You're listening to Design Your Life with Reverend Kevin Ross and friends. Call in with your questions and comments for real-time coaching and conversation committed to inspiring and empowering you to design and live the life of your dreams. Call us now toll-free at 1-888-346-9194. We now return to Design Your Life.
Welcome back to Design Your Life with Kevin Ross and friends. And boy, do we have friends with us today. I feel so honored to have joining me today Mr. Arun Gandhi. And I'm also going to introduce another dear friend of mine who goes back a little ways with me over the last can we say 1999? So what is it?
Yes, we can. About 11 years.
About 11 years. Wow. Wow and wow. My friend joining us today, her name is Mimi. I call her Mimi. Some say Mimi. Deuce. And she is in Miami, Florida. And she joins us today for a very important reason. First of all, Mimi, you don't know this, but or maybe you do remember, but we were co-workers. You remember this part. We were co-workers in Miami, Florida at the Universal Truth Center many years ago, where I was the youth minister. And we were best buds, and we worked together and had a lot of fun. But you shared something with me that inspired me to write an article. We were talking about something, and there's something that happened that was a challenge. And you said, Kevin, hair grows back and people get over it. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember. My son wanted to grow out his hair.
Right.
And I forget what surrounded the whole thing, but, we ended up making sure he got a haircut. Mm-hmm. And he was upset with me. Mm-hmm. And I explained to you that, the hair grows back, meaning his would, and people get over things, so he'd get over being upset with me. So I think that you did mention that in your book, your first book. Right.
And that really, and I ended up, but I thought about that. I thought about it from a number of angles. We've been talking about being nonviolent. We've been talking about being compassionate and caring for others and all of that. But when I hear that again in this now moment, I also hear that things happen, but can people move on? Right. Can people move on from what seems to be the unthinkable? What you don't know, friends who are listening from all around the world, as you know, there were earthquakes recently in Haiti, and people were impacted. The country was devastated, to say the least. It was an understatement. And Mimi, she lost her mother in that tragic incident. How are you, first of all, how are you handling that? I was, as you know, when I got the news about that, I was devastated. And, I put those two thoughts together with this has happened. Will she ever get over it? Will the people of Haiti ever get over it? How are you doing?
I am doing okay. I am doing better than the people of Haiti, I think. I had my own personal tragedy in this, but what impacted me most was when I did go to Haiti and seeing the look on everyone's face and the people without families, the people without someone flying in to help them, or to bury their dead and so forth. I was able to do that for my mom. But I didn't know how difficult it would be for me to be in that space, in that time, and just feel every emotion that the people of Haiti were going through. So in that way, I'm okay.
So
but the people aren't, and so I'm heading back there soon because I need to do something. I need to do something to contribute towards helping Haiti. I'm devastated by what the people of Haiti are going through. More than my own personal tragedy, really, that's small. It's not small that my mother died, don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm not affected. But
and I think you told me that you have a cousin who is also missing right now?
My cousin's daughter was killed, but her body was not retrieved.
Okay.
She was a 14-year-old girl.
Wow. Well, first of all, we stand with you. I've received various emails, and I sent out Facebook messages and emails, asking people to pray with you and your family particularly. But also to, people want to know what can they do at this time. And so, Mr. Gandhi, I want you to see if you can connect the dots here, because you were talking a minute ago about ignoring situations and ignoring people and dismissing people as a form of passive violence. We have a real live scenario right here and right now. How can we apply your ideas to the current challenge with Haiti?
Well, I think, Haiti is a very good example of exploitation. It's gone through years, centuries of exploitation by France, by the United States, which has left the country in abject poverty, and then there's exploitation by its own politicians. And, it's just become what they call an international basket case. And, what we need in the countries like Haiti and many of the countries in Africa, which were all exploited by colonialists, the thing that happens in colonialism is that they create an elite group among the local population, and then when they leave, the elite group takes over and becomes the colonial powers, and they exploit their own people as much as everybody else has exploited. And we need to break that cycle, and I think it's the responsibility of the world to help out and try to create a whole infrastructure there which will be a permanent structure. We tend to look at all these situations when there is a crisis there. All this time when, Haiti was struggling, nobody paid much attention there. But when it suffered this crisis, then everybody wants to go there and quickly put some Band-Aid and try to bring some relief there. And that is going to be a very short-term thing. What we need is some kind of a long-term plan that will help not only Haiti but all the other nations of the world that are in the similar situation, and people are living in poverty and in inhuman conditions. The developed world has a responsibility to do something about this, and do it out of compassion and not out of pity.
Yeah, talk more.
As you mentioned before.
Go ahead, Mimi.
No, I was saying, as he mentioned before, when you see someone on the street and they're asking you for a handout, and you basically give them the money and say, okay, now get out of my way. When he spoke of the Band-Aid, that's how I see Haiti. It's always been that way, from what I can see. It's like rather than saying, okay, how can we really help? How can, we resolve the issue of you not being able to feed yourself or not being able to do anything? We patch it up. We keep patching. We keep putting Band-Aids on it. And it's gotten to the point where it is now a crisis. And, unfortunately, we're going to have to be moved by crisis this time rather than taking the initiative and saying, what's wrong? How can we really resolve this?
Do you think that this is going to change the U.S. policy with Haiti, particularly with allowing them to enter into our country? What do you think the policy with Haiti is going to be as a result of this? Either one of you can sound off on that one.
I'd like to believe that they would, but I don't believe so. I think I guess I've lost hope. I don't think that's something that they're going to be compassionate enough to do. I think it's going to be more of the same. I
agree with Mimi on that, and very soon everything will cool off, and everybody will go home and finish off, think that they've done their duty for the day, and that's it, and leave Haiti where it was. I think, one step, promising step, was that many of the nations of the world came together to decide what to do and how to funnel the aid to Haiti in a constructive way. I think that was a very good first step. Mm-hmm. But they need to follow up on that and see that it is done effectively and permanently and not kind of a Band-Aid thing.
Okay.
And let me speak to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I left Haiti last Wednesday night. Came in on a military plane, for instance. But a lot of my experience there, and I have to say, even the day I was leaving, they were still removing dead bodies from different buildings and underneath rubble or whatnot. But what I saw was American troops, mostly American troops, with machine guns, keeping people in a straight line in order for them to get food. Mm-hmm. What I saw, and my experience was, dropping food out of helicopters to people to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw and what I experienced were people who came to help remove rubble from one of my mom's buildings, asking not for money, but for food, because they'd already begun to get hungry. And so my thing is, yes, the world got together and decided on what to do. However, it's not working. And rather than have the troops standing there with their machine guns keeping people in a straight line to receive food, how about getting them into the neighborhoods to get food to the people who are injured, who have actually attended to their own medical needs by, I guess they're assuming they've bandaged up their leg properly or so forth, but they can't walk to where they're dropping the food off or the places that they announce on the radio that the food will be. These people in the nooks and crannies all over Haiti's neighborhoods cannot get to that food. And so, yes, we had an initial, reaction, and this is how we're going to do it, but when, as I've noticed, it doesn't work, what can we now do? How do we change that? It's not about deciding once and then saying, okay, this is the solution, but it's continuing to look at it every day, and I'm afraid, like Mr. Gandhi said, that we're going to forget about it. It's not in the news anymore, so we haven't gone back to say, oh, did that work? Is that working? Because it's not.
So
not
now,
from what I saw last Wednesday.
Now, just in vein with what Mr. Gandhi introduced here today, you're calling for a more compassionate response. You're calling,
tender loving care.
Yeah.
Haiti needs tender loving care. They don't need food out of helicopters. They need these people who are trying to ensure their security or the democracy, to ensure their, their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They need TLC. I said to a friend of mine, I said, if, rather than giving money to Haiti where they can't even purchase food, they could say to anyone who really wants to give of their time, you can have a month where I will reserve your position or your job here. Make sure that I pay you your salary. And if someone could literally go into someone's home in Haiti in the different neighborhoods and spoon feed them,
Wow.
That,
Wait, stop for a minute, man.
you know, I said that.
Hold on, Mr. Gandhi, please comment on what you're hearing. I hear you bubbling to the surface with something to share.
Yes, I agree with Mimi. I think, just dropping food from the sky doesn't really help. We need to create a volunteer corps of people who would go out and feed people in their homes. There are probably many injured and many old people who are unable to get out and get food, and so they have to depend on somebody to help them. So I think that kind of person-to-person attitude would be much better than just coming in, zooming in, dropping some food and flying away from there and think that food is going to the people who need it. It often doesn't go to the people who need it.
What is our... Well, let me just play devil's advocate for a moment, because I can hear in the background someone from having another perspective saying, well, why should we care? Why should we? And is there some moral imperative that we?
That is human nature. I mean, humanity. We have to, we have to be civilized human beings, and we have to feel the pain of other people. I mean, if we can't feel the pain of other people, and if we can't show that understanding and compassion, then we are not civilized human beings.
Do you think that television?
Beyond that also.
Do you think that television has desensitized us from being able to feel the pain of another?
I think, we kind of bash television for all the ills of society, but I think basically we all subscribe to the culture of violence. Right from the beginning, we give our children the idea that they have to think about themselves, they have to get to the top. Success is measured by how much you possess and what you buy, and how much money you have. And so you've got to reach the top, and don't worry about other people, just think about yourself. Now, that is the first lesson in selfishness that we teach our children at the time of when they are old enough to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And if that kind of message is drummed into them all the time, we grow up into people believing that we have to just think about ourselves and don't care about other people. And that's what has led us to this kind of mess that we see. Where everybody is so selfish and self-centered that they couldn't care less what's happening next door.
I had the opportunity to be in 1999, participate in the Parliament of the World's Religions in Cape Town, South Africa. And so I had a chance to really meet with several people who had been freedom fighters in that part of the world, and to see what they had gone through and grown through, and also to hear some of their amazing stories. It really, for the first time, I think that shell of Western selfishness was cracked for me, and my heart was opened up. In fact, I believe I met your sister. Is Ela your sister?
Yes, she is.
Okay, I met your sister at the time. I was participating, presenting an award to President Mandela for the World Season for Nonviolence. I was part of that delegation to do so. And I met your sister backstage at the time, and also in some lectures she was giving. She was a member of Parliament there at the time, and we were backstage, and there were seats back there that we were waiting to get into, and we were standing up, and suddenly a seat opened up. And we'd been standing for a while waiting for President Mandela to come in. And so everybody insisted to Ela, no, please, because there were a lot of men around, please take this seat. Please take this seat. And she says, no, I shall stand. And we kept insisting that she take the seat. And she said, no, I will stand. And then finally I got away from the guys and I said, no, ma'am, please, we would really appreciate I said, we'd really feel more comfortable if you took the seat. And she said, no, sir, I will stand. And I said, you know what? You have a lot to stand for. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Arun Gandhi and our friend Mamie Deuce joining us from Miami, Florida, when we come back with Design Your Life.
It's gonna take some sacrifice to step inside.
Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world.
Have you ever waited in line for hours, even days, for the latest cell phone, gaming system, or concert tickets? Right now, there are people waiting in line for hours, even days, for a simple pair of shoes. And for many of the children waiting, this will be the first pair they've ever owned. There are over 300 million children in the world without shoes. And Unity is reaching out to reduce that number. With your donation, new flip-flops will be provided to those in need. You can send one person a pair for $5, a family for $20, enough for an entire school for $100, or an entire village for $250. Visit www.shoesforunity.org to see how you can change the world one pair at a time. That's www.shoes4unity.org.
What makes your spiritual path effective? What truly transforms your life? You can read all the books, hear all the speakers, and attend all the workshops. But what matters is putting spiritual principles to work in every decision you make. Join Reverend Ellen Davenport and co-host Laura Shepard on Absolute Living as they talk each week about how to practice principle day in and day out. Send them your questions to be answered on the air. The email is absoluteliving@unity.fm. Read Reverend Ellen's book called The 5 Principles, available at unity.org. Then join Ellen and Laura each week right here on Unity FM to hear how to practice spiritual principles in your life on Absolute Living.
You've been listening to Design Your Life with Reverend Kevin Ross and friends. Call in and sound off on today's topic or get live coaching for your pressing question toll-free at 1-888-346-9194. Once again, that's 1-888-346-9194. Now, back to Design Your Life.
Unity FM is listener-supported radio, and so when you make a donation, a contribution to Unity FM, you are helping us with our mission of creating a world that works for all. Will you please consider generously giving to Unity FM? We are expanding our reach. We are offering new programs every season, incredible guests we continue to bring to you to serve you, and we would appreciate your generosity by visiting us at www.unity.fm, www.unity.fm, and click the contribute button and make a generous contribution to create a world that works for all and to continue to expand this consciousness that you are experiencing right now. Just think about it. In the comfort of your own home, you're listening to a legend on today. You're connected with history today, and you make that possible when you contribute. So continue to support Unity FM radio. So, we were talking before over the break a little bit. We were chatting about the how can we do this? There are things that historically get in our way from saying, I can care. For example, we're celebrating African American History Month here in the United States, and we've got there's still some bitterness that we have not let go of, and there's some justified bitterness, if you will, for some of us who feel like we've been wronged or whatever, but we haven't learned a better way to transcend this. Everybody did not stand with King. Everybody did not stand with Gandhi. And yet their admonitions still echo throughout time. If we do not learn to live together as brothers, we will suffer together as fools. Mr. Gandhi, can you give us some practical ways that we can begin the process of healing those deep wounds that create divisions, or overcoming some of that sense of disconnectedness from the world around us, and promoting passive violence and selfishness and that sort of thing, to create a culture of love and compassion? What can we do to bring forth this world that we all know we need to have?
I think it's very simple. We have to change our whole concept of justice. As you said in the introduction when you introduced me, that justice is not revenge. Justice is trying to reform society. And, unfortunately, because of the culture of violence that we subscribe to, our whole justice system is based on revenge. When somebody has done something wrong, that person has to be punished. Mm-hmm. We do that at home with our children. When we threaten them with punishment for misbehaving, we are not teaching them anything concrete. We are teaching them that when people do something wrong, they need to be punished. Mm-hmm. And so that whole cycle goes on and on and on. And it just creates more bitterness among people, and that creates that conflict and friction.
Can you tell us?
As you mentioned, after Gandhi and King, we still have a lot of problems here, and that is because we have not learned to forgive. Mm. We have continued to seek revenge. We're going to make them pay for what happened to us, and so that confrontation is causing greater friction, and people just can't get over their prejudices and learn to live together as one.
You shared just a moment ago about the need for us to rethink justice. And as a little boy, you tell a story of a time when you had done something wrong, and grandfather had a creative way of teaching you a lesson. Will you share that story with us? I think it would warm some hearts today.
Yeah, sure. It was not my grandfather. It was my father.
It was your father. Oh, okay, your father. Okay.
Yeah. We were living in Phoenix, South Africa, which was an ashram that my grandfather started, and it was, in those days, 18 miles outside the city of Durban. And it was not very easy in the 1940s and 50s for people to travel around, even if it was 18 miles. It's not like today when we can hop into the car and just drive off to 50 miles or 80 miles just to do some shopping or something. So it was very difficult, and we children didn't get the opportunity to go out and visit friends and see movies or anything, because this whole place was a huge big farm surrounded by sugarcane plantations. Mm-hmm. So whenever we got the opportunity, we would grab it. And one Saturday, I got the opportunity when my dad had to go to town to attend a conference, and he didn't feel like driving that day, and so he asked me if I would drive him into town, and I jumped at the opportunity. And since I was going into town, my mom gave me a list of groceries that she needed. And on the way into town, my dad reminded me of all the little chores that had been pending for a long time. And he said, since you have the whole day to yourself, please attend to these chores, like getting the car serviced and oil changed and all that. And I said, okay. And when I dropped him off at the conference venue, he said, at 5 o'clock in the evening, I will wait for you outside this auditorium. Come here and pick me up, and we'll go home together. And I said, okay. And I rushed off, and I did all the chores, and I bought the groceries and did everything I was expected to do, and left the car in the garage with instructions to do whatever was necessary. And being a 16-year-old, I went straight to the nearest movie theater, and I got so engrossed in a John Wayne double feature that I didn't realize the passage of time. The movie ended at 5:30.
Oh, boy.
And I rushed from there, got the car, and rushed to where my dad was waiting for me. It was almost 6 when I reached there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 1 hour late. He was naturally anxious and wondering what happened to me and pacing up and down. And so the first question he asked me is, "Why are you late?" And instead of telling him the truth, I was so ashamed to tell him that I was sitting there watching a John Wayne double feature that I lied to him, and I said the car wasn't ready, I had to wait for the car, not realizing that he had already called the garage and asked them. When he caught me in the lie, he said, "There's something wrong in the way I brought you up that didn't give you the confidence to tell me the truth, and that you felt you had to lie to me. And I've got to find out where I went wrong with you." And in order to do that, he said, "I'm going to walk home 18 miles. I'm not coming with you in the car." There was absolutely nothing I could do to make him change his mind. He just started walking. It was already getting dark. Much of those 18 miles were through sugarcane plantations, dirt roads, late night, no lights. I couldn't leave him and go away. So for 5.5 to 6 hours, I was crawling behind him and watching him go through all that pain and agony for a stupid lie that I uttered. And I decided there and then that I was never going to lie again.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that was a very powerful lesson in nonviolent parenting.
Yes.
You know, normally in such circumstances, we would just punish the boy, you know, tick him off and humiliate him or whatever and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But by taking this responsibility on himself, he taught me a lesson that I never forget.
You know,
and that is what nonviolence is all about.
When I was at Morehouse, I did a study. I had a youth organization, and that youth organization still exists today. But I hypothesized based on the words of your grandfather, and he said, if we are to teach real peace in this world, we shall have to begin with the children. And I developed a paper called Children's Liberation Theology, which simply said that if we're to heal when we focus on the least of these in every society, I believe children are the poorest, the weakest, the most vulnerable in every society. If we focus on them and solve their concerns and address them and offer them the tools and these ideas at during those formative years, such as you just talked about, we can heal the entire human household. It's like looking at the microscopic for the problem, to the solution for the macroscopic. Tell us how you feel about that and what you're doing today that supports this very idea.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's very important that we transform this world by transforming our children, because they are the leaders of tomorrow, and they are going to inherit this world. And if a change is going to come about, it is through them that the change will come. And so I think we need to do various kinds of things to help the children of the world. But of course, individually and collectively, not all of us have the capacity to handle all the problems that they face. So, you know, for instance, I started after my wife passed away, and I saw all the poverty in India in spite of the tremendous economic growth that the country faces right now. There are half the population of 1.2 billion who are living below the poverty line. And their children are exploited, in every way, sexually, socially, culturally, and all, economically. And they can never break that cycle of poverty. So I've created a school there where we have already taken on 120 children, and they are getting an education that is going to help them break that cycle of poverty.
Oh,
one other thing that we do is that we have created an education system that is wonderful for city-based people, for the needs of the city, for industrial growth and so on. And so we give everybody that same education, irrespective of whether they are born and brought up in the city or born and brought up in the village, where they have not had the advantages of city life. Now, when we have that kind of disparity, we give children in the village education that doesn't really help them in their own setting. They have to migrate into the city to get a job. It doesn't make sense. We are alienating young people from their families in the village, bringing them into the city and destroying their life and destroying the life of the family in the village.
So you're bringing in a compassionate form of education to our youth.
I'm bringing in a new form of education that will help these children learn how to read, write, and do arithmetic, but it will also give them the ability to decide on what kind of vocations that they can undertake in their village, which would build the economy of the village and create wealth for them, rather than having to go into the city and live in slums or in subhuman conditions.
You know, for some of us, we've got 1 minute. Boy, okay. Gandhi, the name of your institute is the Gandhi Worldwide
The Gandhi Worldwide Education Institute, and the website is www.gandhiforchildren.org.
www.gandhiforchildren.org. Wow. I want to thank you both so much for joining us. We have simply run out of time. We get to have a part 2. Would you be okay with having a part 2? Because,
sure.
So we'll figure out a good date where we can bring you back and share more. I'd like to start there. Let's just start at the door of the Institute. And by the way, I got a sense that this is a model. This is a model for something we can perhaps begin in Haiti. What do you think, Mimi? Does that sound good? You know,
I think that's a great idea.
See, we solved half the world's problems right here on Design Your Life. I want a little credit for that. No, I thank you both for joining us and helping us to create a world of compassion where we not only talk the talk, but we walk the walk. Those of you who are listening, please go to www.gandhiforchildren.org to find out more about how you can become involved in creating a more compassionate world for our children. And thank you, Mimi, for being here. Mimi, is there any particular organization that you're excited about that we might support in Haiti there?
One of the organizations that I saw were actually going door to door and to neighborhoods is called Destiny World Outreach Ministries.
Okay, Destiny World Outreach Ministries in Haiti. So they're on the ground. They have a website?
They're on the ground in Haiti. They've provided doctors and everything. Their website is destinyworldoutreach.org.
Destinyworldoutreach.org. Thank you both so much for being here. We have an incredible February, so continue to stay tuned to Design Your Life this February and March. This is just great stuff. We're going to have a part 2 for this. Listen, friends. Go forth this week, unzip your heart, love wastefully, and care like you mean it. Love you. Thanks so much. Tune in next week for more Design Your Life. Bye-bye.
Step inside my life to embrace the infinite.
Thank you for tuning in to Design Your Life with Reverend Kevin Ross and friends. Join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for more designer life distinctions and inspiration to empower you to design and live the life of your dreams. Design Your Life with Kevin Ross and friends only on Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world. This program is brought to you by Kevin Ross Speaks, online at www.kevinrossspeaks.com. Electrifying speaking, training, and coaching for a transformed world.
Continue our dialogue by diving a little bit deeper. You can join us on our simulcast. Here's the information: 712-775-7000, 712-775-7000, and you get a chance to sound off and participate. And you get a chance to sound off and participate. And you get a chance to sound off and participate. And you get a chance to sound off and participate. And you get a chance to sound off and participate. And you get a chance to sound off and participate. And you get a chance to sound off and